Hello, everybody. How's it going? Ready for another watch party? So, hour and 12 minutes already. The runtime is showing. So, um, yeah, we'll just keep refreshing here and see how long it takes for this episode to go up. I'm gonna have to start these streams earlier if they keep releasing videos early. All right, so yeah, I thought we'd start off. I had folks hold on one second here. Oh, there we go. Tyler, thanks for a super chat. Gonna enjoy the episode with a can of Brewdog's Fellowship IPA. Yeah, I've never tried. They have like beer and wine and stuff that's all Lord of the Rings themed and whatnot, but I've never actually had any. I think they have what they have with the Hobbit. They had like Smaug and everything. Yeah, so I put out a poll. You guys keep saying it's out. Is it out? I was gonna share my thoughts here. All right, my mods will hit me up if it's out. Okay. So yeah, I put out a poll. You guys, the majority wanted to hear some positive and negatives that I have on the show, like some collected thoughts. So you've probably caught glimpses of these in my breakdowns because I kind of refer to things. A lot of times I'll poke fun at things that I think are silly. So I picked out like three positives, three negatives, just to highlight a few. And if you don't agree with me, that's cool. All right. So let's get that out of the way first. That it's okay to disagree on things. And we can talk about these things respectfully with one another. Because that's part of when fandom is fun. When we can have debates and be nice to each other. Right? All right. So without further ado, number one positive thing is Khazad-dûm. I absolutely love the Khazad-dûm storyline. Elrond, which was one of the characters that I had my eye on from the beginning. Once they announced that it was going to be a Second Age show, I was like, I hope they do Elrond well. And so far, I think Robert Aramayo has done a really good job. Like him, Doran, Disa, the whole Khazad-dûm storyline is like the heart of the show right now for me. Like every time they cut to that, I'm like, all right, like here we go. I'm in. I don't know, like there's so much heart in that storyline, and it feels the most Tolkienian. I know that's kind of an abstract, you know, phrase that gets thrown around a lot, how to define it and stuff, but I don't know, it just feels what something I would expect from Middle Earth adaptation. And then a small thing, like, gosh, I can just like keep going on these topics, but the last thing I'll say is I love the way that in the last episode they transitioned from the very heartfelt, serious moment of Elrond talking about his dad and talking to Durin about his relationship with his dad, and then they gradually transitioned to a moment of levity about the story of how they first met, but it wasn't like undercutting the seriousness of what came before it. So like what I call like the Marvel technique where, something serious looks like it's about to happen and then they like go straight into comedy. And that's not a, necessarily a knock against Marvel, but it's just what they do. That's their thing is they undercut a lot of serious moments with comedy. But yeah, that's something that I was hoping not to have. And so I thought that was a good transition. Negative. So first negative is actually the main character of the show, Galadriel. I'm really struggling with Galadriel. I know that she's not the same character as she is in the Third Age, and that makes sense. I'm cool with that. But she still feels very one-dimensional to me. Um, and it's crazy because, like, we've had 3 weeks of shows, and in those 3 weeks, we've had 3 people out, 3 people that say, um, like, point out her flaws, like, her flaw is kind of like her defining trait right now, which is, like, her single-mindedness about getting to Sauron. And, like, Elrond, Elendil, and Halbrand have all said, like, "Hey, you're kinda acting like a crazy person here." And she's never really, like, changed at all from any of those conversations. Um, the first glimpse of that was maybe when she barges into the tower and sees Tar Palantir. Um, like, I was like, "Maybe she's starting to," but I don't know. Like, I just haven't seen much else aside from Sauron. Grr. That's about that wraps up her character for me. Um, yeah, and I actually like I don't mind the PTSD Galadriel thing. Like it makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways because she does lose all of her brothers in the first age. Um, but I just hope to see like glimpses of third age Galadriel. Like because right now I haven't seen anything that makes me think like, oh, there's a little bit of that, you know, what we would know as Kate Blanchett from the films, obviously. Um, yeah, so I'm hoping that going forward, maybe there'll be some, some development of that character and we'll get to see another side of her. Another positive is, and let me know as I'm listing these off. Let me know if you guys agree, disagree. I'm curious to see. I'll try to monitor the chat, talk, and read at the same time. Um, you guys keep saying the episode's out, and I keep refreshing. Oh, man. Okay, so it is out. All right. I'm going to have to refresh my browser. I got 2 points down in my list. Oh, there it is. Okay. We'll get it fired up. So I guess I'll just list off my positives and negatives. I'm going to have to start these streams sooner going forward. All right, let's get the timer up. There we go. All right. Well, I'm just going to rattle these off then. Okay. Positive is the design work. CG visuals are incredible. Visuals are incredible. Negative, pacing. I can go into this in more detail later. It's really hard for me to gauge because I'm like locked in to like try to catch all references and stuff. But I feel like especially casual people, like even I'm getting to the point where I'm like, okay, let's kick this story into high gear. It kind of frustrates me that there's not like we don't know where we're going yet. Like we know that the Numenorians are going to Southlands, but like the overall story doesn't have something locking it all together. The orcs, the practical effects orcs are amazing. I love having practical effects orcs. Um, and then the other negative I had was Numenor feels off to me. Like why it doesn't have an army was really weird. Um, like I would imagine them being the height of the civilization of men, you know? And like they have settlements unless like in this version for some reason they don't. They should have like settlements along the coast. So like not having any military seems really weird. Or unless there's a different reason they were taking volunteers last week. Um, let's see here. Oh yeah, and the elves will take our jobs thing. I did not like at all. That was weak sauce. Um, it just didn't make any sense. Like in universe, it doesn't make any sense. Like there's no precedent for elves taking men's jobs. Um, if I were doing it, I would have made it a play on the history of men from the first age looking back at the men of the First Age, where they lived, they were all elven lands that were where they were given permission to live. They're all fiefdoms. So like they're subservient to uh elves essentially in the First Age. So wouldn't that resonate more like if that's in their history that, the elves will rule over them? Yeah. At best it felt lazy to me or poor writing. And at worst it felt like because I'm here in the United States, like I've heard similar things, in politics. And if there's one thing I don't care to have in Middle Earth, it's, you know, uh, allegory of politics. That's that's not something I'm interested in. Maybe you are. Maybe you can disagree with me, like I said. But and then the other positive I had was the music. Music's good. I like the music. Um, all right. I did on the flip side of that, like as bad as the elves taking our jobs was, I thought Farazan's speech after that was pretty good. Yeah. All right. Well, there we go. That's my very abbreviated. I could have gone on for like an hour talking over all these, and maybe we will in the future. But let's get this episode started. We've got a play button. All right. I'll give you guys a 5-second countdown. Thanks for the super chats. I'll try to make sure I catch everybody after we get this rolling. All right. We'll go ahead and do it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I still don't understand why he kicked off his friends too. Like I said in my breakdown, that's totally an Umbridge thing from which one is that? Order of the Phoenix? Yeah, don't skip the recap. I think it'll risk messing up our timeline here. Everybody's synced. Oh, we're getting more Harfoots today, guys. Be sure to hit that like button too. There's 1,100 people, 300 likes. We can do better. I wonder if they'll do a new intro for each season or if this will be the same for every season. Oh, and happy Hobbit Day, everybody. Should have gone around that. Done messed up, Isildur. Jeez. Stop being creepy, Gilgalad. Jeez. All right. They're finally leaving the island, folks. Oh, stop autoplay. All right. What do we think, folks? I thought for sure we'd get more of the Harfoots there at the end. I thought they would circle back to them. Tyler, thanks for the super chat. Adar is definitely not Sauron now. Yeah, I tend to agree. His reaction was definitely, unless it's, I don't know. I like Halbrand tends to act pretty Sauron-y, you know? Except for like apologizing, saying he was sorry for Galadriel's brother and stuff. Unless that was, so if Halbrand is Sauron, that was hopefully him like just messing with her. I've said it before. Like I'm not on board with like a villain rehab version of Sauron. Give me pure evil Sauron. Michael Kelly, the tide may rise and drown a man or fall and sweep him out to sea. Farazan, one day I hope you find something you'd be willing to sacrifice anything for. Isildur's friend to Isildur. Foreshadow. Hashtag foreshadowing. That's true. Tide may rise and drown a man. Let's get a poll going here. So I have this thing that always amuses me in movies and shows where they do training with like real swords and totally act like they're gonna kill each other. So, oh man, yeah. So like the Galadriel with like the cadets or whatever, and they're just like freaking wailing at each other with swords. I'm like, come on. I know it's a thing. Like it's in all kinds of movies and stuff, but I roll my eyes every time I see that. Wow, the show just did a massive level up. Way better writing and language, cinematography, and music just keeps getting better too. That episode was better than the entire first half of the season. The pacing felt better to me on that episode. There's been a lot of time, especially in the, gosh, they're all running together now, but there's been episodes where they cut away from stuff as I'm getting really interested in it. Like I remember that in episode 2, I think it was, with like Doran and Elrond. Here it felt like they actually got to where you got a good, good development of a story, and then they cut to the next one instead of it like just getting good and then they cut. So yeah, the pacing and the edit felt a little better. Why was Adar upset? I don't know. So I stopped mid-sentence earlier. The only thing I can think of, like if Adar is Sauron, it could be tied to him not allowing people to call him Sauron, because that's a thing from the books. Tsunami Gaming, I'd rate it a grand out of 10. I'm not sure what scale that is. But we'll put that we'll put that on the scoreboard. Mithril connection to Silmaril, is that canon? No, not at all. No, mithril is a mysterious metal that they just come across. Yeah, there's a couple lore things. That was one of them. I like the imagery that they used of, the elf fighting the Balrog. Like at first it reminded me a little bit of Glorfindel, but he obviously wasn't fighting over a tree and he wasn't in the Misty Mountains, so there's no reason for that. Yeah. That's just them making that up to try to explain why Mithril's special, I guess. I don't know how they think, because they're saying that it like has, yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to go back and look at that section because I'm kind of confused about that. Like, is it because they said like lightning struck the tree and that made Mithril? But they also said that they believe the Silmaril, which would be the one that Mithros has. He casts himself into a chasm, which we don't know where it is. I don't think they're going to bring an actual Silmaril into the story. I think that would be a bad move. Caleb, I liked it, but I really would prefer it to be a slower story and not rush. Look at Rise of Skywalker. When you rush the story and don't let it rush. Also, please don't let Adar, maybe, be Sauron, be ballsy, and actually have Sauron not in the season at all. I would prefer. Thank you for the very generous super chat, by the way, Caleb. I would actually prefer if we haven't met Sauron yet. I would think it would be pretty awesome if he was the one whispering in Celebrimbor's ear that the way to they need to build this forge to create something that will save the elves or something. That whole thing was a little confusing to me too. I mean, not confused. Like I understood what they were saying, but the idea that the elves are all going to die, it felt. So I guess it depends on how you feel about it when it's used in Return of the King, because it's very similar to in Return of the King, where Elrond tells Aragorn, Arwen's dying. Like she can't survive the darkness that's spreading. Like she makes it, like he makes it sound like, you've got to either defeat Sauron or Arwen's gonna die. Which I'm not the biggest fan of, but I kind of, just kind of go with the flow on that one. But yeah, that was one of those where they changed it to give more stakes to Aragorn's character in Return of the King, to give him like a personal reason why he needed to defeat Sauron, I guess. So yeah, that's what that reminded me of. It's very similar in that respect. So depending on how you feel about that in Return of the King will probably inform how you feel about this. Derandir. I'm guessing that's how you pronounce it. Give it a shot. Okay, I'm gonna bet we haven't seen Sauron yet. End of season 1 or season 2, we'll see him. I think we've got to see him at some point this season, if we haven't already. Yeah, it'd be very odd if they didn't have him in season 1 at all. Yeah, I've seen a lot of comments. The writing's still a mixed bag for me. Like there's some moments, well, I think I might have written one down. Maybe not. going back to like the last episode where um like I really liked in the last episode, Muriel had a statement where she said something like hope is to find a thread to hang a kingdom on which to hang a kingdom, something it was something like that. And I was like, oh, that's pretty poetic. I like that. And then we also got elves are going to take our jobs. So it's kind of a mixed bag. Um yeah, with the writing for sure. Who's creepy trailer dude at? Oh, yeah, because we just saw them pop up once. So they're obviously on the trail of Meteor Man. They look to me like Morgoth or Sauron worshippers. And like maybe they think Meteor Man is Sauron, and so they're trying to like find him. Bam it, Sam. My only question: am I crazy, or did Celebrimbor refer to Earendil as a mortal? I almost had a stroke when I heard that. Well, yeah, Earendil was half elven. You know, his dad was immortal, was a mortal, not immortal. Hmm. But yeah, that's interesting. Now I'm like second guessing myself whether, because I always thought he was, yeah, I thought he was counted among elves. Because even his father, Tuor, we're given hints that he gets counted among elves eventually. He's the only man to be given immortality. Yeah. Um. All right. Is mithril important to elves' survival in lore? No, we just covered that a bit ago. Also unclear of Isildur's sister's purpose role in this story. What do you think she will do in the story? I don't know. Right now she kind of like fleshes out the family a little bit, gives a little more family dynamic. Uh, Elendil apparently didn't even say bye to her before he went for war, so there's that. Isildur just waved at her in the parade. Maybe they said bye off camera or something. Um, I don't know. Isildur's sister's in the city. His horse is going to war, so that guy's going to war, man. Um, I mean, she's an architect, right? So a lot of people have been theorizing she might be the one who designs like Minas Tirith or some of the Gondorian cities or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because she almost seems like she's siding with Farazan, or like she of their family, like she kind of gives off the anti-elf kind of vibe. Caleb, thanks for a super chat. Didn't like the sword fight. Felt like it was too heavy on the cuts and didn't feel good. Also, was it just me, or was everything on that scene with mysterious humans overlooking the crater all CGI? I don't know. Yeah, I think those cultists. I have to go back and look. I didn't notice it in the moment. Yeah, the sword fight, like I said, the sword fight was kind of crazy. Yeah, those aren't my favorite. Like they do it in, gosh, what movie there's one. Oh, it's is it it's one of the Chronicles of Narnia movies where like you have like these kids, and I'm like, these kids would totally like cut somebody's arm off or something, but they're like full out trying to like just barely missing each other's heads and stuff with with metal sharp swords. I'm really glad that Elrond did not break his oath, by the way. So my fear with Elrond's oath was that he was going to break it, and then that was going to blame everything that happens in his future. So Celebrion being attacked by orcs and having to leave Middle Earth, and like if they really wanted to do it, which I would hate, is um, tying it to like the sorrow that Arwen has when Aragorn dies. Like that shouldn't be something that's Elrond's fault. That is a mortality thing, and that like I've said a lot of times on here. If you haven't read The Tale of Aragorn and Arwen in the appendices, you should read it because it's absolutely beautiful writing. Some of Tolkien's best, in my opinion. Thank you so much for the super chat. There's no vowels in there. That's gonna be hard for me to pronounce. Oh, this is a good question. Timing wise, will the ships show up just in time to save the tower as it's attacked? That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know, because they're gonna be attacking here soon. The battle scenes we've seen in trailers, I think, are in the daytime. So I did wonder too, like, how long does it take them to sail to Middle Earth? And like, I know it's more picturesque if they're all armored up, but like, are they gonna stay armored up, like keep their helmets on for that whole trip for like days? I'm now very confused about this stranger. Thanks for the super chat, Johnny. I think he's a wizard. Like, I think that's pretty. Yeah. His slam on the ground, I was like, oh, I think I might recognize that move from like the Return of the King video game or something. Although, no, maybe that was Gandalf slamming his staff down, and you'd have like the ripple effect around you. I know the one where you would uh lift your staff up and you'd have the blue orb. That was an awesome move in the Return of the King game. Yeah, Glorfindel definitely did not have a Silmaril. Unless that was meant to be Mithras. I don't know. I thought that the Silmaril and the elf battling the Balrog were like separate things in that story. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it. Seth, thanks for the super chat. I feel as though we have finally gotten through the prologue and are really starting our journey. I have high hopes that once we can see the full scale of this show, it would be amazing. Love you, nerd. Thanks so much, Seth. Thanks for the super chat too. Yeah, like it's like I said very briefly when I was trying to run through my positives and negatives real fast. The pacing, even for me, like trying to soak it all in, um, you know, catch all the references and stuff. Like even for me, I was thinking, man, this show needs to get going. And like they didn't actually leave Numenor until the very end of the episode, but a lot of the other storylines, I felt like stuff was starting to happen. Like I felt more engaged this episode, um, in most of the episode. Um, yeah, the I'd say the two conversations between Gil-galad and Elrond, and then Celebrimbor and Elrond were very similar. Like they almost said like the same stuff essentially. Like that might have been a bit repetitive, but again, like the Elrond and Durin stuff continues to be the the high water mark of the show for me. And again, I'm really super glad that Elrond did not break his oath. But Gil-galad, man, he was like spying on him, super creepy. Like, stop being a creeper. Tommy, thanks for super chat. If Adar was Sauron, why wouldn't he appear fair? I think he's just the mini boss. We haven't met Sauron yet. Yeah, so like I don't know why Sauron would appear scarred like that. Like I think he's definitely a corrupted elf of some kind, or maybe he's I don't know. He could be a whole other entity that's like uh trying to rise from the ashes of the First Age or something and take over leading the orcs. Maybe he's even deceiving the orcs and they think that he's, connected to Sauron and he's not. I don't know. Hard to tell. Yeah, the trio searching for the stranger. My best bet is they are somehow cultists of Melkor that are searching for Sauron, and they think Meteor Man is Sauron because they were. Did you notice on the back of like the reflector thing? I don't know if the one of them was holding like a circle, just like a reflector glass thing. It looked like, but on the back of that, it had the constellation that the stranger had drawn back a few episodes ago. What's in Halbrand's sack? When he grabbed it off the table, I thought I heard a clink, maybe prototype rings. Yeah, when he tossed it on the table, I thought I heard a clink too. I didn't know. It has like that metal piece on the front, so I didn't know that. It looks like it has almost like a spout on the end or something. I have no idea. It's getting to be about time where we need to find out what's in that dang thing because we've been talking about it for a little too long now. Yeah, how about the stranger like freezing that water? That's kind of crazy. Ross, could Adar be Ale, thought to be dead but still lives? I think Ale's pretty dead. I mean, they dropped him off the wall of Gondolin. Yeah, I don't think he's Ale or Meglin. I did release the Ale video because, like, seeing Adar, I thought people would probably think of Ale. And I was like, hey, people are going to search for it. Maybe I'll just throw out a video there. But no, I don't think that's who that is. If I had to put money down on it, I would bet he's like just an original character, a one-off villain for this first season, and then he'll be done. Nelly Unoson. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Thanks for the super chat. The dwarves will dig too deep that awakens the Balrog, but surely the one that we see in the trailer is not that one, though there's 10 in history. Yeah, the number. Oh, excuse me. The number is like Tolkien's latest words on the Balrogs are between 5 and 7 of them, is what he said. We're not told whether there's any other than Durin's Bane. That's the only one that we know of that survives. But we did not get that shot that was in the Comic-Con trailer. So I don't know when that's coming. I thought we might have gotten it just there when they talked about the tree thing. Yeah, it's hard to say unless that shot got cut or something, which happens. Yeah. Yeah, and I kind of hope, like, I hope they don't delve too deep on behalf of the elves. That would be weird. Like, if anything, they help the elves by giving them some mithril, but then, discovering how awesome it is, or I guess they already know how awesome it is, but like they continue delving after that is my thought, because it's this whole thing about the dwarves delving too greedily and too deep. Like, if it's for the elves, then it's like a nice reason that they did it, which would kind of change that. Yeah. Hillman, what are your thoughts on the series so far? So I said that a bit at the beginning, said kind of like some of my likes, dislikes. Still kind of waiting for, something other than I'm so angry at Sauron from Galadriel. Like, I think she even said something in this episode about like being incapable of doing anything else or saying anything. And I was like, yeah, I know. It's all you've been talking about this whole time for like 5 hours of series so far. um, I would say mixed bag would be my phrase to encapsulate it. There's some things I really, really like. There's some things I'm scratching my head over. Like um I don't understand why Numenor has no military. From what is the Sea Guard if not a military of some kind? Like it seems weird that the height of mannish civilization would have no military whatsoever. Yeah. All right. Oh, sorry, I forgot I had a poll up. It looks like most of you had it between a six and eight. 9 and 10 was second most with 27%. 6 to 8 was 43%. 4 to 5, 17. 1 to 3, 11. Elrond and Durin, great as usual. Agree. Yeah, they're always great. Like I love those characters. Also, I liked Galadriel in that scene with in the forge with Halbrand. I actually felt for her in that moment rather than her usual sassy attitude. Overall, 8.5 out of 10. It was like she actually showed a different emotion than rage, which was nice. Like it's been a while since we've seen anything other than that. I actually liked, like, this is gonna sound crazy. I actually didn't mind the Harfoot stuff this episode. Because I'm, you know, somewhat interested in the wizard, who I'm hoping is still hoping for Blue Wizard. Still hoping for Blue Wizard. Yeah, like the song, I thought the song was nice. That was a nice little like montage. It had some nice heart to it. So yeah, I like that part. Tsunami Gaming kind of thought, what if short white-haired guy is Saruman? Short white-haired guy. I don't know, just an interesting thought. Thank you and mods for the hard work. Short white-haired guy? Who's short white-haired guy? You're talking about Waldrig or whatever his name is that comes to Adar? Oh, you're talking about the person searching for the cultists. No, I don't think that's Saruman. I hope that we're not seeing Gandalf, Saruman, or even Radagast. Like I did think early in the show, the episode, I thought like his beard looked browner, and I was like, oh, he's looking kind of brown. Maybe that's Radagast. I don't know. I'm still pulling for Blue Wizard really hard. I'm not. I just don't think I'd like it if it's Gandalf, because it'd feel like the Blue Wizards are right there. They show up in the Second Age. They should use them. Gandalf, it would just feel like a ploy to get casuals involved and say like, look, this beloved character, we have him. He's here. Come watch our show. Whereas like Blue Wizards, like show me the Blue Wizards have a huge range of you know, they could either fail at their mission or they could succeed, and like there's room to expand there and to make up stuff if you know, to make up like a backstory for them and whatnot. Michael Kelly, I love Poppy's song with the "Not All Who Wander Are Lost." I'm a sucker for simple nostalgia. Yeah, when I first heard that from the soundtrack, I couldn't decide. I was like, do I like this for using that line, or do I not like it because they used a line because it's familiar? I kind of land on, well, Bilbo is the one who writes that, referring to Aragorn. So like it could work that that's like a saying, an old Hobbit saying. So at the end of the day, like it's a nice, pretty song and everything, and it was a good little montage they used it with. So yeah, yeah, I liked it. Yeah. All right. Tyler, thanks for the super chat. The Morgoth priests are tracking the stranger, it seems. I feel like he could possibly be Sauron now. Didn't before. Yeah, I don't know. I think Halbrand is definitely given the most evidence. And like there's a lot of rumors already. Yeah. I think the stranger is going to be a wizard. Like he clearly wants to be good. You feel for him when he says that he's peril, I think is the word they used. Johnny Barnes, did Celebrimbor call, goodness, Elrond's father a mortal man? He did indeed. Um, the thing with that piqued my interest was him saying that Elwing begged him not to go, which obviously is not something that happened, because she jumped off into the sea with a Silmaril, came to his ship, and then they both went together. So, like, I don't know, in this version of their story, did Elwing not go with him? Because that doesn't really make sense. Like, they even have the statue of her as a bird. So, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, Earendil is half elven, half elf. Tuor is his dad, was a man. Idril was an elf, daughter of King Turgon of Gondolin. How does Numenor only have 5 ships in army, right? Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Yeah, I don't know, like, and Farazan says, like, when this is over, elves will bow to us or serve us or something. It's like, how? You don't have you don't have any. Like, you don't have any forces. How are the elves gonna bow to you if you don't have any military or anything? Um, Duncan, thanks for the super chat. Who do you think the people are who are investigating Meteor Man's crash site? Yeah, cultists of Melkor is my bet there, for sure. Thanks for the super chat, CPM CP McGratt. Thanks for the super chat. They had a shield with the star symbol he was drawing. Yep. Yeah. Sorry, I'm behind here apparently because we just mentioned that a minute ago. Jost, I think this might be the weakest episode. I don't like how they seem to be tying Mithril to the elves, like the One Ring and Arwen and Peter Jackson's trilogy. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, so I think the mileage will vary on that depending on how you feel about that in the Peter Jackson trilogy. There'll be a correlation, I think, among the fandom of how you feel about um this idea that the elves are going to die from that. I assume that it would be like their lands would decay, and that would be the impetus for them wanting to preserve them. I didn't anticipate Mithril being involved, but I assumed that would be the impetus for the Rings of Power scheme. That they want to, out of pride, they want to make their lands as much like Valinor as possible without, just going to Valinor. And Gil-galad does sounds a little more altruistic, I guess you could say, like saying, well, if we leave, then Middle Earth is doomed. Um, Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I'm curious to see how this plays out, like how the rings of power come into this. I'm hoping that we get Rings of Power at some point in a show called Rings of Power. Jesse, thanks for the super chat. President Nixon. Thanks for super chat. Writing is 5 out of 10, imagery 8 out of 10, Galadriel 4 out of 10. You're like really dialing down into the number rankings. I have a hard enough time coming up with a number for like episode by episode. Like I figure after the season, I'll do like a big, like I'll do a dedicated video on everything. So the 2 videos that I'm planning after the season's over, one is kind of like a, here's what I felt like worked, here's what I felt didn't work, that, could have been done better. I love this, I hate this, I like this, I don't like this, that kind of video. And then a second video I'm planning that I've already got notes started on because I went down a rabbit hole one day, um, is how I would have done a season 1 of a Second Age TV show, and trying to like keep myself in the bounds of like rights and utilizing the same characters and stuff like that, to like to give myself a some constraints to work within. But those are the 2 videos that I'm planning for after the season. And then yeah, we'll do that after the finale at some point. R. Carlson, thanks for becoming a member. Make sure you join the Discord. Should be a link in the community tab for you. The stranger confirmed a Balrog. The ice magic cured his charred-looking skin when we heard crackling, burning sound effects after Nori ran away. I don't know. That is still kind of a fun theory that he's a Balrog. Numenor sending the 300. Yeah, I guess they are sending 300. It's like 2 of their boats burned. It's like, well, I guess we can't just get other boats. We'll just have to send less people. But no, I'm still leaning wizard. Yeah, I don't think ice magic. I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think the ice magic proves anything like Balrog wise. Like that, I don't think there's a connection there. Well, and I mean, I guess you could say, but that was fire, like that wasn't cold or that wasn't hot from the first episode. Yeah. I like to think the harmful things Meteor Man does are demonstrations of why future wizards need to have their power limitations and staff. So like the staff is like a like channels it kind of thing. Yeah, that's not a bad theory that that's part of the reason that they don't unleash their full power. It's kind of like the thing I always like about Gandalf is his job is not to directly fight Sauron, but to help others to rise to fight Sauron. Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of cool to see, if he is a wizard, presuming he is a wizard, to see like some raw power being displayed. Still hoping for Blue Wizard. Let's do a poll. Who do you want Stranger to be? All right. So we've got Blue Wizard, Sauron, Balrog, or one of our previously met wizards. See what you guys think. Brendan, thanks for the super chat. I was getting some strong Iron Giant vibes from Meteor Man's conversation with Nori. That's a fun comparison. I'm still Team Blue Wizard, but it feels like there could be some sort of hidden agenda for him. Yeah, he definitely has that like gentle giant vibe about him. Yeah, Iron Giant. That's an interesting. Yeah, at the beginning when they're what are they eating snails? That seems to be like his favorite. His go-to is snails. Kind of Ara says, did the ship seem a little small to hold 100 people each? Is there a horse for every soldier in the hold? Next episode, they all have horses. That is a really good point. I feel like we need someone like one of the folks who did on Twitter. There was somebody who did like calculating the number of helmets that were in the pile of helmets from the prologue. We need someone to calculate how many people and horses could fit. Oh yeah, you guys are on the same page. Is it because I've talked it up enough so much that you guys are on Blue Wizard, Team Blue Wizard? 73%. The next closest is Radagast, Gandalf, Saruman. The three of them combined for 12%. All right. The next question, naturally, who do you want to be Sauron? All right. We've got Adar, Meteor Man, Halbrand, or we haven't met Sauron yet. What do you guys, you know what I think? I very strongly put my opinion into one of those camps. Umang, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it, my friend. Zach, what is the cult of Melkor? So it would be anyone who worships, Melkor. It's kind of hinted at in the East. And that's what ends up, well, spoiler alert, that's what ends up happening in Numenor. Yeah, like when Sauron influences the Numenorians, he eventually turns them so much that they begin to worship Melkor. So yeah, my guess is maybe I don't know if they're from the east or from where, but there's some kind of remnants that follow Melkor, even, thousands of years earlier, especially in the East. We're told, like, the East, time and again, Morgoth and Sauron. Sauron has a habit of retreating there in times when he's been driven out of places like Dol Guldur, or when he's temporarily defeated. He tends to go to the East. Like, the East is, from the beginning of men, Morgoth went there seeking to corrupt men, and so evil has always had a stronghold there. Nick Martelli, I had a hard time understanding why the elves need mithril in this adaptation. Did the episode fail to explain that clearly, or did I miss it? So I was a little hazy on what Celebrimbor was saying they needed to do with the mithril. Like, what are they going to build with it? Because they seem to think if they, like, are they making clothing and like wearing the clothing will keep the elves immortal. Or like, yeah, I don't know. Like I was really hazy on that. Again, that's something that I'm gonna yeah, they said bask in its light. And it's like, what like how? What are you building that you're gonna bask in? Sauron is mithril? Yeah, see, you guys again, I don't know if you guys are like have I just like talked about this so much that like the people who disagree with me are just like have left where 76% of you prefer to not have met Sauron yet. I think we're just all in sync. I think we speak for the people, and the people don't want to have met Sauron yet. Apparently, 77% of us. Yeah, I think the forge will be made to make the will be used to make the rings of power. I have a suspicion that Celebrimbor is going to use Feanor's hammer to make the rings, which would be pretty cool. Yeah, don't forget to hit that like button, folks. Smash it, as the kids say. Um, Tommy Pattinson, on a scale of 1 to 10, how okay are you with mithril being a product of a Silmaril? So was that officially what they said, that it is definitely a product of a Silmaril? I was like it kind of confused me a little bit between the tree with the lightning and the Silmaril. So like gosh, I don't know. It's not the most egregious thing. I'm much more concerned about the status of Numenor and them not just not having an army, but like that's a big part of it because they're supposed to be this mighty realm that like Sauron's armies fear so much that they run away when Farazan shows up. And the splendor of the Numenorians um, is so great that his servants abandon Sauron. Um, and like right now, they can muster a few hundred people who are volunteers. Like it doesn't seem grand, you know. So yeah, I don't know. I'll have to go back and watch that part. I'll probably be kind of ambivalent on whether mithril is a product of a Silmaril. It's a mysterious ore, so you know, and I like that they generally it seems like they pose these as tales or theories, like the story with the elf and the Balrog. They say this is uh, like according to legend, or so So there's some kind of phrase like that. They're like according to legend, this is what happened. So it's you know uh, it kind of leaves wiggle room. Like this could be total BS, but this is what some people have said, and this is what we're um, putting our hopes on. Apparently, I think I saw the Stranger constellation in Linden. Ooh, I'll have to go back and look at that. I'm gonna jot that down so I make sure I look at it for the breakdown. So maybe that's where he needs to get to. All right. I think this was the best episode. Very musical. Bear McCreary is killing it. I actually enjoyed the Harfoot segment this time. That's what I said. I actually didn't mind the Harfoot section. Yeah, I think the music is definitely a strong point of the series. There's times like when I don't really notice it as much, but there's been some key moments where it really kicks in and I'm like, oh yeah, this is the good stuff. Umang, thanks for the super chat. I am convinced that Aarion will be the one constructing the Temple of Melkor. I mean, that would coincide, that would kind of go along with her seeming to not be a fan of the elves. That's interesting. What do you think of the trailer scene with the Regent Queen appearing behind Bronwyn? I have not seen that. I haven't seen them in the same shot before. Hmm. I mean, I would assume that that's where they're heading. So those two storylines are gonna eventually, finally, come into contact. Um, yeah. How do you like the dwarves and how they look? I love the dwarves. Yeah, I think the dwarves are a highlight of the show, for sure. Thanks for the super chat, Jesse. I thought it was silly that Isildur and that dude weren't suspected of blowing that whole ship. Yeah, that was a little weird. They just kind of like took him at their word. Like, oh yeah, somebody did that. I don't know. I guess, did they say that what's his name? Kemen, Farazan's son, was like just like on a boat or something, and then Isildur saved him. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I guess Elendil's probably not gonna like try to get his son in trouble. It makes sense for him to privately be like, "Are you sure that's what happened?" Shout out to Epic Kingdom was in the chat. I saw. Haven't watched, just stopping by to say hi. Well, sorry if I've spoiled anything for you while you've been here. Maybe Farzan will build a grand army when he usurps Miriel. A grand army of the Republic. Maybe. Do you think we'll see the rings this season? I hope so. I think so. Yeah, I think at some point we've got to. All right. I understand scoring an 8-hour TV show is really not easy, but I wish there was some variance on music. Every Numenor moment is almost the exact same. It does have that same theme, although I will say the leaves, leaves. I said that weird. The leaves from the last episode, that moment where the leaves were falling down and Muriel and Elendil exchange a look. That was actually the Elendil Isildur theme. And on Twitter, I think it was, Bear McCreary confirmed that that is actually the theme of the Faithful. But it obviously wasn't titled that at the time, and like we don't know it yet, or like those characters haven't fully embraced that yet, but it is the theme of the Faithful. I don't think there wasn't any slow motion, was there? I don't think there was. After we had the Wayne, the director on, he said lots of slow mo, but I don't think there was any slow mo this time. It's kind of funny. Matt Stoker is that Misty Mountain Balrog fight found in anywhere in Tolkien's writings. No, the closest thing I can think of is Glorfindel fighting the Balrog outside Gondolin. Yeah. Song plus map usage plus stranger using magic equals Harfoot scenes were much better. Yeah, I would agree with that. Also, great dialogue in all Elrond scenes. 8.5 out of 10. Great episode. Thanks so much for the super chat, James. Yeah, I think the Elrond, I've said it a long time. Like, I think Elrond should have been the main character of the show. I think he's from the get-go, from a book perspective, he is more relatable of a character than Galadriel is. And I think the show has made Galadriel even less relatable than she might have been in the books even. But yeah, so I am all about giving Elrond and his storyline as much screen time as possible. 66 Inc. calling it Meteor Man is Walter the White arrived to cook mithril and save the elves. Oh my gosh. Oh goodness. All right. Johnny. To be fair to Numenor, they've been in isolation so long, at a certain point, how much of a military do you need? I mean, I get that. I guess if they have completely isolated themselves. But you also live in a world where, you know, Valar and Maiar exist. Now, the evil Valar, Morgoth, has been defeated. We know that. But there's still evil Maiar out there. Like, you live in a world where there are things such as Balrogs and Sauron and fish dragons. Everyone calls it the worm, but it is a fish dragon, and I will call it a fish dragon. So there are evil forces, and so if they're completely isolationist, I can understand not having a massive army, but I would think they'd still have some, you know? Just seems prudent. Yeah. I don't know. I think Yeah, I'm very curious to see how this goes because like I gotta see Farazan leading a glorious army of Numenorians at some point. Like that's got that that's such a like grand moment in the story. We've got to see it. So yeah, I'm curious to see what they do. Malvo is horrible. Yeah, she said like take their wheels and leave them. Like you thought leaving behind people who fell behind was bad? Like she's saying let's leave them for dead. Let's murder them because of this stranger guy. Christopher, thanks for the super chat. Numenor military. The way I understood it, it's not a completely sanctioned military effort due to the complicated politics, hence volunteers. Okay. Okay. I could see that. All right. That makes a little more sense. Because they did give the indication that there's some complicated politics, like you said. There's a lot of disgruntledness happening. I don't know. I'm blanking on words, guys. It's like 2:00 in the morning where I am. So forgive me if I don't have my full vocabulary at my disposal at the moment. But yeah, obviously there's a lot of people not on board with this. Like, let's follow an elf to Middle Earth and fight this battle for people we don't know. Because apparently, if they're isolating, then they wouldn't care. But my assumption is that like they have settlements along Middle Earth, unless that's part of what Farazan, he pulls out his scroll thing. He's talking to his son. He says something about, like, the Southlands owing them basically, and like having tribute and stuff like that. So unless part of the story being told is how Farazan takes over and then he establishes places like Umbar and we see that oppression happening. But then again, we lose, in places like Umbar, we lose the fact that was once a healthy relationship and a friendship there, where the Numenorians taught the men of Middle Earth things that they had learned from the elves. So it was like a corruption of what was once good, whereas this would just be bam, brutal oppression out of nowhere, which still gets the point across of what Numenor ultimately does to those people. Like they do oppress them, um, but it would just leave out an element of that I would lament the loss of. Blue Boyle, what exactly would the Numenorians need a military for? I don't know the lore as well as you, so I'm genuinely curious. Yeah, so in the books, they have port cities. So Pelargir, which is the port that, okay, so you remember from Return of the King, Aragorn, uh, Gimli, and Legolas, they pull up in the movie. It's the army of the dead is with them, but they pull up to Pelargir. That is the port closest to Minas Tirith. And then there's multiple ports along the coastline going south. Umbar is originally a Numenorian port. So they have settlements in Middle Earth, and like you would think, there being people, there's going to be conflict, and especially later in their history, when they start oppressing lands, like they're not just going to do that, without any kind of military force whatsoever. And they come to the elves' aid in the War of the Elves and Sauron with their mighty military. Yeah, obviously, that's me going by the books. Silly me, I know. But those are things that I would have expected to see, like this grand military. Like someone said earlier, though, maybe the military isn't involved because not everybody is on board with this, and that's why they asked for volunteers. Not so average Joe. Oh, does anybody else think that Isildur's friend is totally going to die? That was talking to his girlfriend about how it would be over before he even got off the boat. Like that's kind of like that's probably going to happen, right? Like his goofy friend. Yeah. I think those evil elf dudes after Meteor Man are looking to capture him and corrupt him to their cause rather than him already being evil. Okay. Interesting. Okay. I don't know. I don't think if a wizard is being sent, I don't think he's going to be corrupted. Like he's obviously confused and doesn't speak the language, and he seems like he's catching on pretty fast though. Oh, what about the sword being a key? The dagger or the shard is a key. I keep thinking maybe I'm still holding out for it being somehow connected to Morgul blades, and that it's a key to the unseen world. And for mortals, that's I stab you with it, and slowly you get pulled into the unseen world. Oh, this is awesome. I just pulled this up. I didn't even read it yet. But Tsunami Gaming, thoughts on the Black Blade with the new info? Yeah, so I'm still holding out hope that it's a Morgul blade. That's still my best guess. I don't know what else like a key. I don't know. It makes me wonder if that's why, if Adar is wanting it and he's planning on, because they said that they were experimenting with the unseen world. And we know that, the most powerful beings, the elves who lived in Valinor and Maiar, like Sauron and Gandalf and all the wizards, they had a strong presence in the unseen world. So maybe there's something with that. Adar wants a presence in the unseen world. Johnny, no one has said that yet. Feanor did nothing wrong. He wants me to read it. So there you go. Oh, goody. Arthur, you lost my respect siding with Amazon. Okay, sure thing, man. Guys, goodness. There's always a few. Whatever, dude. Have you not heard like any of the things that I've complained about or listed as dislikes? You guys, goodness. President Nixon, the connection of ice with the stranger, and the beginning of episode 1 with the ice in the dungeon. Ice in the in the fortress. Yeah. 610 episode, 810 scenery, 410 collateral. Chances Sauron is already talking to Celebrimbor. That's what I'm hoping for. A lot of people are hoping for that, I think. Yeah, okay, this is a good one. Tyler, Bronwyn changing her mind felt too quick. Yeah, that was a crazy 180 journey that she just went on. I was like, what? You're just giving like a rah-rah speech a little bit ago. And now you're like, maybe we'll just join them. It's like, I think you should leave the speeches to Arondir from now on, apparently. Goodness. Christopher Nelson, I think they must be hunting the stranger to make sure he doesn't get in the way of Sauron's very important work. They know Sauron's already there. Maybe. So, like, they're already in the service of Sauron, I guess? Is what you're saying? That could be. And then, like, the Meteor Man crashes, so they're like, yeah, we need to go check that out. Maybe. Oh, someone said that the character is called the Dweller. Interesting. These characters called the something. It's very, very interesting. Kind of era. Does it seem like the elves are too reliant on dwarves in this show? They need the dwarves to build the tower and now to save them with mithril. Yeah, but isn't that how it should be? I mean, come on. Flipping elves on their high horse all the time. It's about time they realize that they need the dwarves more than the dwarves need them. Yeah, there is a lot of dwarf, elven dependency on dwarves in this show so far. I'm guessing something is going to go down. Maybe between Gil-galad and or Celebrimbor and the dwarves. But I do want to see because we got to see Celebrimbor make the doors of Durin. We haven't seen that yet. Yeah, I feel like there's going to be something to set up like dwarves and elves not liking each other. Perhaps. Like there's going to be some kind of falling out. I hope it's not between Elrond and Durin because they're great. Tsunami Gaming, Gil-galad may be lying about the need for mithril. I don't know why. Why would he though? Like, because he's not poisoning that tree. That's like their sacred tree, right? You know what I could see is Durin giving the tree that is planted in Khazad-dûm, that's like the elven tree, that's like a sapling from their tree. I could see him giving it to the elves to replace that tree if that tree dies or something. Yeah, Gil-galad is seeming shady as heck in this show. He's another one where it's like, like, by the end of it, like he needs to be heroic and I need to root for him. I'm a little more lenient for Gil-galad on being a little bit of a jerk. Like he could be a little bit of a jerk. But when it comes time for him and Elendil against Sauron, like I need to be 100% behind Gil-galad. So like I'd be okay with him having a little bit of an arc where he becomes a better ruler and a better leader. Correction, Numenor doesn't only have 5 ships, it only has 3 now. I know, it's even worse. The worst that, like, think about it. They only have 5 ships. Like, if they run out, they're gonna be stranded on that island. They'll be isolationists by necessity. Sean Snow, thanks for the super chat. I wish they did not skip the scene where Halbrand is being summoned. Kind of curious how he convinced the Numenorians. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah, because they just kind of cut where he was summoned by Muriel, and then the next thing you know, he's on the ship. Hmm. That's a good point. I'm sure it was something really Sauron-y that he said. DL, did I miss the reason why the elves will die and why mithril will stop that decay? What triggered this decaying, etc.? I mean, it shows up like the first leaf falls when the meteor crashes at the end of the first episode, I think. But yeah, they show the like that the black decay stuff. It reminded me a little bit of like the Tom Cruise War of the Worlds, where they have like the red stuff growing on everything, except this one's black, obviously. That's what popped into my mind when I saw it. But yeah, I don't know. It's something, I guess, with the evil spreading. I don't know. It's very vague. But mithril might have the light of the 2 trees because the Silmaril was buried in the Misty Mountains or something. I don't know. I need to go back and watch it again because I'm not 100% sure how these dots are connected. Like the legend, like the tree and the Balrog thing was kind of cool looking. And the tree got struck by lightning and like their powers were poured into it, and then that created that was a cool little graphic that created the mithril veins. Yeah. Could it be that the Morgoth cultists are trying to intercept a blue wizard? Weren't there notes about the wizards failing and falling into cults? Yes, there were. Meteor Man certainly isn't coming off as 100% Paragon. Yeah, so that was kind of the range I was talking about. Thanks for a super chat, by the way, Jost. In one version of the story, the earlier version, Tolkien says that the blue wizards failed and they likely started cults, magic cults. And then the other version, they were instrumental in the East not outnumbering the West in the War of the Ring. So, yeah, they're very opposite, these two things. So that's why I say, like, with the blue wizards, there's like this huge range. Like, you could have them fail, you could have them succeed. Like, there's a huge range. There's very little notes on them. It's a sandbox that you can play in without tying it to a well-known character like Gandalf. And once if they come out and say like, oh yep, this is Gandalf, there's going to be a very large weight of expectation because Gandalf is really well known and we know a lot about him. And not to mention, he's already been performed iconically as Ian McKellen did. So, yeah. Again, I'm really hoping for Blue Wizard. So yeah, there might be something at play there with cultists, or at least a reference to it. Oh man. This has only been 5 hours of a 50-hour show. We're only a tenth of the way in. People need to have patience. I hear that. Counterpoint. We're 5 hours into a 50-hour show. We're already a tenth of the way in. We need to get the story moving. How about that? No, I think the bigger thing is like we're 5 hours into an 8-hour season. I think that's more where like, like I said, the pacing in this episode was better, I felt like, than um previous ones. But yeah, no, I think the thing that has been frustrating me is like we don't know where these storylines are heading. Like we got a little more. I felt like this episode gave us a little bit more clear indication where these storylines are going. But presuming that they're all going to kind of connect at the end, I guess they don't have to, but presuming they are, I don't know how that's going to come to pass. Um, yeah, like and it's hard because like I don't think it's entirely fair to compare TV and film, but still, like when you look at Lord of the Rings films, when you're, um, you know, whatever percent, I mean, so we're 5/8 of the season. We're over halfway of the season. Like think of where that is in Fellowship or Two Towers or whatever. Like we have kind of an idea of where everything's heading, and this has been very slow to get to the point. Like I feel like the mithril and the elves, you know, decay and stuff like that probably should have been earlier. So like we could get to some of this drama a bit earlier. I think that would have helped a lot. Tyler became a member. Thanks so much, Tyler. Make sure you join the Discord. Go to the community tab. Meteor Man is Grand. LOL. Which Grand? Come on, Duncan. Which Grand? Is it the mace of Morgoth or is it the battering ram? Get the Grand messages. All right. We'll go for a little bit longer here, guys, and then I'm gonna have to get cracking on the breakdown. It's slow, but I don't fully understand the amount of hate. It can be kind of cool to have some random depth filled into these characters if done right. A Sauron counterpart could be cool. So, like Sauron counterpart as in competition or like a second in command when you say counterpart? Yeah. I think I think he's, maybe until this episode, like maybe the most casual viewers might have thought Adar was Sauron. But then the way he reacted to that guy calling him Sauron was seemed pretty indicative that he is not. And so it would be kind of interesting if he's trying to um fill the, like, I don't know, for lack of a better term, power vacuum or whatever by the absence of dark lords and become this new force, and then Sauron comes in and just destroys him or something, That'd be interesting. Maybe that's what's happening. If Halbrand is Sauron, he's gonna come in and destroy this guy. All right, we'll do like 10 more minutes, folks. I'm gonna try to get through all the soupies. What were the orca chanting while they were marching? Oh, the orcs. Nampat. Nampat, which I can't remember what is the translation for. What is the translation of Nampat? Sounded like the inscription on the One Ring. I don't think it's a word from the One Ring. Ajnaj Gimbatul. Matt Rasp, thanks for the super chat. It's a cool concept portraying the elves as diet master race version. What is that? Not like Nazi evil, but the elves being portrayed as a snobby race at times. Yeah, they are snobby. Of course they are. When making something from mithril, they need to have a hammer and anvil at least as strong, along with a forge strong enough. I always wondered that, like, and the same thing with the Silmarils, because we know the Silmarils are indestructible. So, like, at what point do they become indestructible? Because if he's using the hammer to craft the Silmarils, like, could the Silmarils destroy, or could that hammer destroy the Silmarils? I don't know. Sorry, I saw another chat here I was wanting to bring up. Yeah, I don't have this to pull up on screen, but I was following along, try to follow along live while also catching up on super chats here. Bella Gour says, I really don't like us being critical, being framed as hate. There is a big difference to that. Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with that. There is definitely room, and there should be room for criticism. That's, part of what we've talked about tonight is, some things that I've not been as crazy on. And, I mentioned that from time to time in my breakdowns. I try to be informative in the breakdowns and give a little bit of opinion, but, I'm not one who's going to try to convince people to have the same opinion as me. That's just not my style. I mean, I'll debate people on, when I'm chatting with some Tolkien fan friends and stuff, and we start talking about Balrog wings. Like, you better believe we're going to be debating on Balrog wings when someone, brings it up. Like, that's part of the fun of fandom. But yeah, obviously, there's like a ton of just ridiculousness that is going on in society as a whole. I'd say in fandoms, it's everywhere, and it sucks. But I think the vast majority of the people want to have fun with fandom, and we don't have to like the show or dislike the show to be Tolkien fans and talk about it. Like, we can like or dislike it, and we can talk about why we like or dislike it, and do so with respect to one another. So yeah, not everybody who dislikes the show is some kind of terrible person or an ist of some kind. And not everybody who likes the show is some sellout or whatever the heck, whatever labels people like to throw around. Thank you, Timothy, by the way, for the super chat. Yeah, it's a very, very unfortunate situation in the world today. But it's a game that I don't have any interest in playing. People can yell at each other back and forth. That's not the game we play here. All right. What was Halbrand's bad past, do you think? I don't know. Siding with Morgoth would be one if he is Sauron. That'd be a pretty bad past, right? Yeah. I don't know. If he's not, like, I like the idea that he becomes the Witch King. That's talking about his future. But as far as his past, like he comes off as very much like a Aragorn-esque type character. Um, yeah. So I like the idea. Like I'm currently rooting for him to be uh the Witch King, and that it will be a story of like an Aragorn-esque story, but it goes wrong. Almost like a what if Aragorn turned evil kind of thing. And that's what you get. You get the Witch King. Do they have the rights to the Akalabeth? So we don't know exactly. Like it doesn't sound like they have full rights to it. They definitely don't. They definitely have not ever said that they purchased rights to the Akalabeth. But as we pointed out last week in the breakdown, they did name drop Armenelos. And the name Armenelos, the capital of Numenor, does not appear in the appendices or in Lord of the Rings, which are the things they do have the rights to. So that is clearly something they got special permission to use. Maura Lee, thanks so much for the super chat. $50 super chat. Thank you. Happy Hobbit Day. For some people, it still is. We've crossed over 2:17 a.m. Here, but we can still celebrate Hobbit Day. I still have my Hobbit slippers on, by the way, for the occasion. Nando. So Celebrimbor will use mithril to forge the rings of power to hold the light of the Eldar within. Crazy. Oh, you said that with a quick crazy. I know it makes sense with the direction they are taking the show. P.S. Feanor was right. You Feanorian sympathizers, Feanor apologists here. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I'm gonna have to think more on this mithril thing. Like mithril is a very mysterious ore, and the dwarves just kind of find it. So, yeah, and like I said, I like that they frame it as a legend, and that it's not like this is definitely what happened. Quintianus became a member. Thanks so much. If they had said this was like the Shadow of Mordor games, where it's not canon but a story told in the universe, this show would be far better. Yeah, maybe, James. I mean, there's nothing stopping you from looking at it that way. You know, that's just like here's the thing when it comes to adaptations of Tolkien's books, even the good ones aren't canon. Like Peter Jackson's films, the Lord of the Rings films, even the greatest film trilogy of all time, in my opinion, isn't canon because they do change things. Now, obviously, this is, due to the nature of the Second Age, I would say this is different because you don't have near as much material to pull from. So there's always going to be made up stuff, original content in this show. Like there's no way to do the Second Age without making up some stuff. Now you can argue whether what they've made up is good or bad, or if they've made up things that don't serve the story of the Second Age. That's entirely fair. But yeah, even the great adaptations aren't canon. It's not like Star Wars where Disney bought it and now they make movies and they decide what's canon and what's not canon. Like the books are where it's at. And that's always where it'll be at. So that's why I tend to be pretty somewhat, chill, not fully chill. Like I'm not just gonna blanket be like, oh yeah, whatever, that's cool. I'm still gonna have, you know, criticisms and stuff and things where I say, oh, I wish they would have done it like this. It would have been better if they did it like this, or this really, like the Numenor stuff. Like I said, how you're missing out on things if you take away their military. Like you're missing out on the splendor of their military. So yeah, there's all that to say. The books will always be where it's at. for sure. But you could totally look at this as a Shadow of Mordor type thing. There's no, you know, unless I hope we don't see uh, the relationship of Shelob and Sauron, like it's hinted at in those games where they're like ex-boyfriend girlfriend or something. Cried when Gil-galad called him Perethyl. Yes. For those who don't know, that means half elven. Elrond half elven. All right. All right. We're gonna try to wrap it up here soon if I can catch up. Khaki Rock. Sorry, I'll read this. If they asked you for consultation on the show, would you do it? I mean, I guess. I mean, gosh, I don't think I'm probably not the most qualified person to do that. I would think there'd be probably people more who know it more in and out than I probably do. But I mean, gosh, yeah, what Tolkien fan wouldn't? If someone approached you and said, "Hey, we're making a Middle Earth adaptation. We want you to put your 2 cents in." Like, yeah, I'll give you my opinions. Because I would have been like, "Hey, Elrond should be the main character." That would have been my first thing. They said, "Oh, we're thinking about Galadriel." No, Elrond. It must be Elrond. James, in the next episode promo, the Queen Regent says, "Send for more ships," which makes me think this is a small party and Numenor has a massive force. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so I do kind of wonder. So, like, did you get the sense it was a little bit like, when Faramir goes for his goes to goodness, my brain gets fried after a certain point. It's a miracle I can write these breakdowns after this. I do have a Monster Energy drink standing by to give me that extra boost. So it's like when Faramir is going on his charge, like his doom charge because of his dad, and it's a very somber. But then like this Numenor one is very like, yay, we're going off to war, woohoo! Like I kind of wonder if they're gonna get their butts handed to them, you know? So like that checks out. I didn't watch the promo for next week yet, but her saying send for more ships, that could be because they get their butts kicked. I could see that. And then like Farazan could totally use that as a as a way to get control. Like they've already said that Farazan has the hearts of the people. So like I like that Farazan seems to be very calculating. I do like that portion of him. I would like to see him as the military leader as well at some point. Adar is definitely a Noldor. The river-like symbol on his armor is the same as the back of Gil-galad's robe when showing Elrond the blight on the tree. Oh, that's a good catch. We also saw, so in the last episode, it's very similar to the pattern on Elrond's attire in the last episode. I will say, I wish all the Numenorians had gold armor. Like, I think gold would look better than like I don't know, what would you call that? It's like beige or something. I don't know. Is it eggshell white or something? Yeah. I'm not a big fan of that color. Like I really like the blue, like with the fish scales that Muriel had on. I think it was the last episode, the blue. I like that. I like the green, but I'm not a big fan of the off-white. Yeah. Eggshell white. If I remember well, Eärendil is the first half-elven to get to choose whether to be a man or an elf. He was immortal when he got to Valinor, and only the light of the Silmaril allow him to get there. Yeah, because doesn't it say he wanted to be a man, but Elwing wanted to be an elf, and that's why he chooses to be an elf. Yeah. It's all coming back to me. So yeah, I think that's fair game that they called him mortal, because at that time when he sailed off, he would have been mortal. Meteor Man mumbles something and gives a funny look like Gandalf does when they're talking about the mom snoring. I did see he kind of gave a look. I don't know if that's enough to convince me that he's Gandalf, though. The Blue Wizards, the only ones that arrived in the Second Age? Yes. Yes, they are. The rest were 1,000 of the Third Age. Is it weird to consider Meteor Man as Saruman? No, there's been a lot of people theorizing that. Yeah, that's not off base. Again, I hope it's one of the blues. But there's been a lot of people that are banking on Saruman, actually. If Meteor Man is Sauron, then could the Harfoots being nice to him help to explain why hobbits can better resist the ring's evil? Interesting. Yeah, I think if he was Sauron, that would kind of be... It would be a little weird that he would have such disregard for them unless he's just really unimpressed with them, because he kind of ignores the Shire later. Why is there a carving of the sword of an elven fort? Oh, carving of the sword in an elven fort. Who is Sauron? Can hate mongerers just let us be fans hopeful for a good show? Like, why? Thanks for the super chat. Yeah, that's a good question. Why is there a carving of an evil sword in an elven fort? That is a great question. I did not think about that. Who is Sauron? I hope it is someone we've not yet met. Yeah. That's my hope. I don't know about that, why it would show up in an elven, unless it's like part of a thing telling a story or something. Or they carved it there. It's like, hey guys, keep an eye out for this. If you come across this, it's like real bad. All right. Are we catching up? Okay. I'm going to try to cut this off here. Wheels Unlimited. Galadriel's ring, Nenya, is made of mithril. That it is. And provided protection from evil. Maybe this will ultimately be why and what the elves need mithril for. I could see them making all the rings out of mithril for the show, since they're putting such an importance on mithril. But yeah, Nenya is one that we were told is mithril. Elrond's is gold, I think. Sauron may be sickening the tree and speaking falsehoods, mithril rings, to Gil-galad, Celebrimbor from within, or Region Linden behind the scenes. Yeah, I think that's what a lot of folks are hoping for, that Anatar will just be revealed and all this like speculation on who he is will be nothing. The back of one of the priestess's shield armor, there's the same symbol as Stranger wrote on the ground. What do you think? Yes, there is definitely a connection there. Yeah, I think they're definitely looking for him. I don't know how they would get the constellation. Like, I'm curious to see how that connects. Luis, thanks for the super chat. All right, we're gonna catch up here, guys. I'm gonna sign off here in like within the next 5 minutes, because I gotta get started on the breakdown. It's getting late. I like the Harfoot story a lot more in this episode of Meteor Man actually doing some cool, crazy stuff. Yeah, totally. Absolutely. It definitely picked up. I can handle the crazy murderous Harfoots when there's a lot of Meteor Man coolness to go with it, I guess. I thought the reason they only had a couple ships and volunteers is so the queen didn't seem like much of an elf lover and more of a, sure, I guess we'll help, but only volunteers, not army. I could see that. Yeah. I would hope that would be the case. Yeah. So my hat says Nerd of the Rings in Dwarvish. It is in my Teespring store. If you would like it, it might show up below the stream. I'm not really sure. Sometimes it shows up when it's working correctly. Oh, there we go. Okay, that was the last one. Cool. All right, guys. I just caught up with the super chats. That was a lot of super chats. Thank you so much, everybody, for your support. Really appreciate it. We've had some great attendance at these watch parties. It's fun conversing with you guys, theorizing, and saying what works and what doesn't. Be sure to check out the links. Katie Roach is posting links right now. I have Isildur. Maxim Baldry will be on the channel on Tuesday afternoon. We'll be chatting with him. So let me know in the comments what you'd like me to ask Maxim about Isildur. I'm really curious to hear his thoughts on, us potentially getting to see a more heroic Isildur, and a more fleshed out character. And then next week, obviously, we'll have watch party for episode 6. That's also in the chat. So be sure to hit notify me on those and hit that like button if you haven't already. And yeah, we'll do this again next week. And I'll try to get this breakdown out to you guys later today, hopefully early afternoon at the latest. We'll see. We'll see how well this monster kicks in. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. And shout out to the moderators who do a wonderful job for me each and every stream. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time on Nerd of the Rings.